Welcome back to another episode of Recovery Life. My name is Latoya, and we are back. Today is a brand new guest, and I'm going to turn over the camera so that she can introduce herself to you. Hello. How are you?
Good. Hello, Latoya. It's me, Whitney.
Hi, Whitney. How you doing, girl?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
So if you could just take a couple of minutes to tell our viewers who've never met you before just a little bit about who you are and what you stand for.
Sure. Well, I mean, where do you start, But my name is Whitney. I just turned 39. I've been, in recovery for a long time. I can say that I just celebrated 6 months.
Yay.
So, yes.
All right.
Yes, very excited about that. And, I've been in this journey for a long time. I've lived in a lot of places, and I've been through quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So, I guess growing up, I was really lucky to have the parents I had, even though I was a single mother. And she did her best, you know what I mean? We have to remember, I'm 39, we have to remember that our parents, they didn't have the access to the things that we do now, I feel like, mm-hmm. So she did her very best. So I was with her recently for my birthday, and, I have to remember try not to be hard on her, because, though her actions may have led to the way that I felt about myself, mm-hmm. then it doesn't mean that, she didn't do a good job.
Right, and I'm glad that you started strong like that, because it is the truth. A lot of times we put a lot of pressure on parenting, whereas it's free will, right? Mm-hmm. The first thing we do is we want to get old enough to make our own decisions, and then once we make bad ones, we want to put it on the parents sometimes, right?
Yeah, or look at how, and so how certain things could have made us make certain decisions, but it's I made the decisions I've made. And I'm grateful today that I'm able to take responsibility and accountability for the decisions that I've made, because they led me to where I am. I went through quite a bit out in Arizona. I lived there for a while, and I'm really grateful to be here in Connecticut, because let me tell you, Arizona has one of the worst crystal meth problems, and I didn't really know what I was getting into when I moved out there.
So was crystal meth one of the drug of choices,
yes.
Or was that the drug of choice?
Well, for me, it was more alcohol, actually.
Okay.
I've always been a true blue alcoholic, blackout drunk since I was 16 because of, traumas, things that I wasn't dealing with. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how to deal with it. It was my coping mechanism. And instead of, my mom, she put me in therapy, sent me to rehab. She did everything she could. But, of course, I resented everyone because I was a child. I didn't know. I had no idea how fortunate I was until I went out there and lived amongst people and saw mm-hmm. that they don't have what I have. And it's crazy, the experience made me so much stronger. I was out there with people and seeing the things that they would have to do, as a means, Mm-hmm. Luckily, I didn't really have to. Yeah, I was around and I was with friends, and I definitely lowered my morals and my standards, and especially when you're out there doing that, with alcohol, for me, I black out, right? Mm-hmm. So the point was to get an upper to try to balance it, right? So at the time, when I moved to Arizona, I was about 23. And I had done cocaine before. I liked to do cocaine up here in New Haven, and that was back in 2009. So back then, you didn't have to worry about fentanyl.
Right.
That wasn't a thing. If you asked for cocaine, you got it. So when I moved down there, I was all high and mighty. I was I would never do that. That's made from stuff under the kitchen sink. But in the back of my mind, my addict brain was absolutely. It's
right.
You know what I mean? I was I couldn't wait, but I was I would never do that ever. And then one thing led to another. I got drunk.
And you did that.
Yeah.
So I want to stay on this part. So you said your main drug of choice was alcohol, mm-hmm. and you gave a great example of what I say to people who say I'm alcoholic. but they've tried other things based on the alcohol, like the temptations of the alcohol,
Of course,
right?
yeah.
It will have you try things because you're under the influence of something that tells you it's okay to try these things,
yeah.
right? So in saying that, it didn't work out in Arizona. What led you to come to Connecticut and say, I want to try here?
So that's a very long, detailed story, but what ended up happening was I wound up, my rock bottom in Arizona was I was involved with a boyfriend who was, robbing convenience stores for cartons of cigarettes, in like, so it was a whole ring, and I was in jail for 9 months. And my mom, who had been living in South Carolina at the time, my public defender had reached out to her and said, hey, check it out, like, I think Whitney's worth saving. He said, I think, like, she doesn't belong here, And though, because I had given up on myself, I was in there like, okay, this is my life, So if it weren't for Danny, his name was Danny, if it weren't for him reaching out to my mom and her saying, okay, I guess I'll give her a chance, and she flew out to South Carolina, and from South Carolina to Arizona, and she stood at my court hearing, and I come out, I've been in jail for 9 months, right, and I'm in stripes and shackles, right, and I'm like, hi, Mom, excited to see her, and she's just like completely shell-shocked, like, and I'm just, it's my life at that point, because that's, what I was used to at that point. So I was able to get an interstate compact to move to Columbia, South Carolina. I was there for a year, and what brought me up to Connecticut is that I lived in New Haven before. I knew that there was a great sobriety scene, and my grandparents, they had ended up moving to Niantic, into a nice place there. My mom wanted to be near her mother, and she didn't want to be away from me, so we wound up moving to Connecticut.
Well, thank you for that. So I get to see you in your element of recovery, and you have a genuine aura about you that draws people in because you have a great personality. You're fun-loving. You are who you are. You're very transparent, and the fact that you're adding recovery to the mix is like allowing you to become your greatest version of who you are already, right? It's like it's magnifying the greatness that was already there, right? So what do you do to prevent yourself from returning to the takeover Whitney?
Oh, the old behaviors, it's like I do my best now to just remember to stay grateful for everything that I have in my life. Like even the story I was just telling you. You couldn't have told me when I was a child that there would be a day in my life where I would say I was grateful to have a phone, because I didn't have a phone at one point. I'd be grateful to have, the right to drive. I have a car. You know what I mean? Like, I try to remain humble and remember, like, because we see people sometimes, and there's just because their circumstances are their own doesn't mean that they can't be mine. And I try to stay amongst women as well. I really do believe in, and I have done before, the steps of either way, 12-step program. And so for me, learning a lot about myself in my 4th step really showed me how to change my perspective on things and how to try to continually be grateful rather than, looking at things as a victim mentality, because I think a lot of my use and things like that were having felt bad about for myself. And like, granted, yeah, there are things that I could have felt bad about, but at the same time, there's also a different way to look at it to empower myself. Because I know I'm a very powerful person. I have a huge power. I want to I want to help others. I want to help myself as much as I can to then help others. You know what I mean? Because I have to get myself, to a point where I think I'm ready to help them. You know what I mean?
So, in saying that, what part of you are you most afraid of getting lost to? What part of your character defects is very alive and well, and it gives you some fear?
Just, I feel like my tendency to possibly want more than I have, or maybe the grass is greener, or like just feeling any instance to sneak, because I have a beautiful life now, a beautiful new relationship that I'm building, and I'm really grateful for that, all of it. And I don't want to do anything to put it in jeopardy, especially myself, but, I haven't come and worked this hard, so it's like my tendency to become complacent and be comfortable with the bare minimum, because I know I deserve so much more than I've ever been able to even dream of. But I've oftentimes, settled because I was just like, okay, this is great, I didn't want to do a lot of work, but I'm capable of a lot more than I put my
So you want more, and I heard you clearly say like you don't want to rush the more, because the obsession and compulsive mind of an addict is now everything. That's how it goes. This doesn't go any different direction, but I want it all right now, right? And I want to make up for all the shit that I gave away, and I want all the stuff that I have to rewind. I want it all right now. Put it right here in front of me, and then I want to get more than that.
Yeah.
So when you realize the pause button is real, right? The pause button is real. I do want to have more, but I want to achieve them one thing at a time. And I want to be able to embrace and stay in the moment and celebrate the wins one at a time. How are you doing that?
I mean, every little bit counts, I mean, even just remaining grateful for the jobs that I have, you know what I mean? Because though I want a different job and a better job, I have to remember, like, maybe I only have these few jobs so that I have enough time to focus on my recovery, that type of thing, because I don't get a lot of hours. My hours are very flexible at both jobs. So in that being said, I have time to work my recovery in, just remembering to like focus on my blessings.
That's awesome. Because when I know you, but when someone sees you, they see bubbly, beautiful Whitney. They have no idea what it takes to be you every time you wake up in the morning and have to start your day. They have no idea what it takes to rev your engine of mental thoughts and your emotional connections to what it is outside of its nature or the sun. They have no clue. They don't know that your struggle may be tenfold on theirs or maybe tenfold less than theirs. What is it that you connect to first thing in the morning when you get up to make sure that you're not in your own will?
My higher power.
Okay.
I do. I try every morning to just pray for my higher power's will for me and not my own. And though it is not, it's a constant battle throughout the day, not to take my will back, But I try really hard to just like speak to God as much as I can, especially like if I'm struggling or if I find myself trying to make something happen that's not working, that me now I've learned it means it's not supposed to, or maybe like it's not the time. So in the morning I wake up, and I just try to remember to say like thank you for this day, thank you for yesterday, and like help me to make the most of this day, help me to help others, help me to stay like out of myself, help me to be the least amount of a jerk, because I have all the capacity, help me to be better in traffic, just help me to be better, and as I think it's there. I see the results, I don't see it as much as others do, so.
Not supposed to either. It's something you live, right? So I see a huge, tremendous amount of growth in you from the time I first saw you walk up to the desk. I was like, oh, I love your ensemble. Like, being unique, being yourself, being free to be you, and not having to concern yourself with whether you went to sleep or whether you've been up 2 days, whether you've been up 3 days, where we're going to cop at. Is this going to be enough? Is it going to be beat? Is it going to be worth it? Or should I eat this food? Or should I drink this water? How awesome is it that that's not the things you have to concern yourself with? Just today.
Beyond. I think about that all the time because I have many friends from my old life in Arizona, or one friend from my old life in Arizona who still, continues to do the crystal meth. And excuse me. From what I hear, you never know what you're gonna get, right? So it's like he continually has to buy it, or in his addiction, he continually buys it, and like once in a blue moon, it will be what he wants. To me, that sounds like hell on earth, And to be honest, it was hell on earth, It was. There were fun parts of it. Obviously, I wouldn't have done it, but I got out of it just in time, especially now. And I'm so grateful that I don't have to do that. You know what I mean? For so many reasons. I mean, the drug and the alcohol, I'm sorry, they're not like, I can't think of the word right now, but basically they're not in charge of my life anymore. You know what I mean? Like, they don't tell me what to do. Like, I don't have to get up and say, okay, well, I have to do all these things before this so that I can make sure that happens, you know?
Right.
I have to work my life around that instead of just my own will.
And it's Russian roulette, basically, because at the end of the day, I'm glad you were very honest, too, because a lot of people feel like they got to be politically correct and say, oh, I don't want to ever use drugs. People don't want to stop using drugs because they don't like getting high or leaving their emotional feelings behind. The consequences behind using are just tremendous. Your family, you lose your family. You can't be a mother, a father, an uncle, a niece, a dad, a boss, a CEO. You can't be homeless the correct way without using. You can't eat, you can't shower, you can't brush your teeth, you can't get dressed, you can't buy clothes, can't get gas, can't get a car, can't even ride a bicycle without the permission of your drug, right? So when something has that kind of control over you, you're not here, you're just existing, and all the drug is giving you permission to do is to be a servant, right? So when you talked about being able to help other people, this is helping other people by saying, I did want to, I'm not going to say it wasn't fun sometimes, but that's the difference between, there's a fine line between fun and addiction. Because there's some people who can have a beer on Friday and they don't stay out for 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
No.
They go to work on Monday.
Oh, yeah.
They don't like, there's people who have a beer and maybe 2 or 3, and they have their cranberry juice for whatever they regular people do, because I'm not a regular person. I can't do the one beer thing. And it doesn't last 2, 3, 4 years, 16 rehabs and 99 lies later.
Yeah.
It's a beer and then, oh man, I got to get ready for work,
Yeah.
How different is it for you to not have that be a part of your schedule?
Highball. I mean, it has been for a while, a long time actually, that I've done like hard drugs and alcohol actually also. I haven't drank alcohol since 2023. So honestly, like, I'm just I'm so grateful, because like, it's like you say, for me it wouldn't be just, having some alcohol. It's like, okay, have alcohol, and then all of a sudden it's like, you wake up and you're with people you don't know, and you're like, what's happening? Oh God, oh, what did I do? You know what I mean? Like, today I get to, I am able to be present in my life, and I'm able to be the person who chooses, I don't have people make choices for me. I don't have somebody telling me when I can get out of bed. I'm not in, jail was terrible. And I did my best in there, but it was just the whole mentality, and it was just really sad, because there's people who have been institutionalized beyond the point of like, I'm institutionalized to a certain degree, you know what I mean? But not to the extent that is my life. Like, I don't wear it, That is not who I am. It has happened to me, but it gives me a lot more empathy for everyone who has, And that's why I'm able to like kind of connect with people on a different level, on many different levels, because, I understand that things happen. And I try to have empathy, to a certain degree. Of course, I'm not going to protect myself as well, I'm not going to be somebody who's going to be taken advantage of, but also I'm here, I'm just really, I don't know, I'm really grateful that I have the intuition that I have and the wisdom that I've gained throughout
You actually learned something from the scenarios and the situation.
Quite a bit, yes.
So I'm not going to stay on this one long, but I want to, what is it like to have a relationship in recovery?
You know, this time around, it's been really, really good. Everything has happened really fluidly with this relationship. It wasn't something that was forced, because when I went through the local rehab in 2023, right? And I met somebody at the end of it, and I was very into this person at the end. And like I went into the rehab with no intention of meeting anyone, but I just happened to meet this person, and somebody was trying to like set us up, and I was like, whatever. But then that person became became completely like they were my reason for existence, like in my head, you know, just completely pigeonhole, like didn't care about anything else but myself. So I was, you know, using to kind of make up for the fact that we were long distance and lying about it, you know. And it was a whole like year and a half basically until I kind of ran myself into the ground again. And, you know, he was non-communicative with me, and it was just weird. It was a very weird situation. And having gone to that local rehab again in 2024, this last time around, it was January 2025, so again, this time I was like, I'm good. I said, like, these people, like, for me, I was like, this is just not somebody where I want to meet somebody. You know, I was like, this is not, I can do better. And I was doing all right. But, you know, I made a friend, and that friend, you know, when I ended up coming to New London, not realizing I was going to come to New London. I was trying to get back to New Haven. Mm-hmm. But New Haven didn't want me back. They were like, you know, you need to get a little bit more time than, you know, than you had before. And I was like, fine, I'll go to New London. I'll do the 12, you know, do the place with they'll do the basic needs. And in doing so, it opened my eyes to the availability, the things that are here, and it changed the change of scenery was very good for me. And like I said, that person was up here still from my past, who was not talking to me, but he was around. I was like, hey, I'm in town, just so you know. And he was like, okay, whatever. You know, but
so the recovery, we don't have much time.
Sorry.
So the recovery aspect is the reason I asked that is because the reason I asked that is there's always a reason when I'm asking stuff, is because relationships are the biggest heartaches and the direct hit to not using coping skills that are good most of the time, because it's powerful enough to make you make decisions that are not healthy. Are you working on your recovery to the point where love is great, but the love you have for yourself is greater?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And the perspective that you have, because we can't have our person be our recovery, and nor can we be their recovery, right?
Agreed.
So what is it you do for yourself to make sure your part of the relationship stays healthy?
Yes, I make sure I get to meetings.
Okay.
I make sure I get to my meetings, and I make sure that I stay in contact with women in recovery. You know, I make sure that I get to certain groups, you know, to, you know, be there and show up as a symbol of what a strong woman in recovery can be, and continue to make those connections.
And I see you do that, and that's the part that I
Yes.
wanted to get out there,
Yes.
because a lot of times people will say, oh, she's in a relationship, but you have to do a certain amount of work on yourself in order to make yourself whole first, right? Because if you are half, I don't believe that if you're a half and I'm a half, we don't make a whole if you're a half and I'm a half. That means two damn halves, right?
Right, exactly.
What if you're wheat bread and I'm white bread? That's not a whole loaf where I come from, right? That's two open loaves that's not full. So if I want to make myself whole, I have to do what it takes to make myself whole. And my person has to do what they have to do to make themselves whole, because God forbid one of our recoveries starts to go backwards. You can't save me, right? But I need a sponsor, or I need a network or a therapist or whatever it is that it works for me in my time of need. So to hear that you have those things in place.
A therapist as well.
See, and that's the part. And you have a therapist as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how long did it take you to get comfortable actually building this recovery capital, is what I like to call it?
I mean, I've been building it since I got here in March, you know, and I don't know, it's been going strong ever since. You know, I've just been working with people and talking to my sponsor in New Haven, and you know, just making things like go. Things have been going well. You know, I've have people. I have an old support system back there in New Haven as well. You know, that I'm able to have access to. So, you know, it's when I say my sponsor in New Haven, she's my old sponsor. So, yes, talk to her on occasion. So, just saying like things are good. I'm able to keep in touch with the people that I know have a strong recovery, that I can look to and kind of emulate. And, you know, she always said, just find someone to do the steps with. It's the most important thing.
That's right.
And that's what I've been doing.
And I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm very proud of you because you take suggestions, you listen, you take notes, you know, you're always a part of the conversation, which means you're present, right? And I want what's best for you, of course, always want what's best for you. And I heard you say earlier that New Haven didn't want you yet. We want you here. So you're welcome. We want you here. So you have 2 homes now.
Yes.
And the stronger the foundation, because recovery is across the world, right? The stronger foundation, the more emotional support you have, the more mental health support you have, and all of that stuff works together. Mental health and recovery work hand in hand. They're 2 separate things, and a lot of people don't realize that, that if you're not taking care of your mental health, there's no way you can take care of your recovery, because a lot of times people use to stop the voices from happening up here, and by the time it's over, they don't know which is which, and which is reality and which is not. So I'm glad that your reality is beautiful right now, and I'm glad that you know what it takes to maintain that. Are you prepared when the world shows up?
Yes.
What are you gonna do?
When the world shows up, I'm gonna, I don't know, I'm gonna put my best foot forward, you know, because that's all I can do, you know, and have people by my side that are gonna be there with me if things go wrong, you know, or that if I need to lean on them, I can, and if they need to lean on me, they can.
That's right.
So.
Thank you so much for being here. It went fast, didn't it?
It did, and I'm so great. Thank you so much. I'm so humbled that you had me. Thank you.
And it was an honor to have you here, and I'll have to get you back again.
Of course, yeah.
Right. So, thank you for joining us on another episode of Recovery Life. Ciao.
Ciao.